Been fired or terminated from your job? Not sure how to explain it in an interview? In this video, I'm going to give you some facts, strategies, and tips on approaching the subject of being fired and give you 9 true story example explanations from some of my past clients to help you figure out how to explain your story. Hi, I'm Stacey Davidson, founder and CEO of Virtual Job Search Coach, creator of Power Up Your Job Search program, and on this channel I teach techniques and strategies to help you determine, pursue, and land your dream job. If you watched part 1 of this 2-part series, you've heard me say there is life after losing a job or being fired. If you missed that video, here's a link to watch it now, or I'll put a link at the end of this video for you to watch it then. And if you stay with me to the end of this video, I have a free little gift to help inspire you on your job search journey. Now, before we jump in, please give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I put out 1 video a week, so tap that notification bell so you're the first to know when my next video is out. One of the hardest things about being fired is trying to figure out how you're going to explain it when applying for future jobs. Am I right? Well, I want to start off by giving you a few facts and insights that might help you put things in perspective. The average worker currently holds 10 different jobs before the age of 40, and the average person will hold between 12 and 15 jobs in their lifetime. People change jobs for a variety of reasons, including higher wage, career advancement, career change, a company or personal relocation, a less stressful job, a toxic or negative work environment, management or ownership change, they didn't get the promotion they wanted, more challenge or variety, not feeling valued or recognized for their contributions, office politics, or difficult coworkers or a difficult boss, a layoff, job redundancy because the company's downsizing or restructuring, or changing personal priorities, wanting better work-life balance. They got fired for a cause or wrongful dismissal, or the company's declining and job stability is a concern. As a recruiter and former hiring manager, when I'm hiring for a position, my focus is on finding the candidate with the best overall fit for the position, the company culture, and the team. And my decision to hire is based on skills, abilities, education, attributes, personality, competencies, and a certain degree of personal intuition, because that's one of my natural talents. Although I may ask why you left your last role or why you're currently looking for work, I'm not focused on that as my sole consideration for hiring you. If you tell me you were let go from your last job, of course I'm going to be naturally curious and looking for potential red flags. However, people get fired. It happens. I know that, and I know there are 2 sides to every story. Of course I'll want to know what the reason was, and if it was something you caused, I want reassurance that you learned from it and won't let it happen again. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand that if you were fired from a job, you're not alone. There are many reasons people leave a job, and they aren't all easy reasons to explain. When an employer is hiring, there are many aspects they take into consideration when looking for the ideal candidate. So being fired from your last job or a past job is not going to automatically disqualify you. Got it? Now, let's jump into some tips and strategies. Tip number 1, if you aren't asked, don't tell. If you aren't asked why you left your last role or your past job, then don't offer an explanation. And don't put it in your resume or cover letter. Some employers won't ask because if they like what they see on paper and they like your first impression when they meet you, then they'll be more interested in what you can do for them than why you left your last job. Tip number 2, tell the truth. If you are asked why you were fired or why you left your last job, then don't lie. You know what happens to Pinocchio. You will only get yourself in more trouble and jeopardize a job offer if you get caught in a lie. However, not lying is not the same as spilling all the beans. You don't need to explain why you were fired in full detail. Strategy number 1 is keep it brief, factual, appropriate, and keep your emotions out of it. Don't place blame, don't badmouth your employer, take responsibility if you did something wrong. Explain what you learned and what you would do differently to avoid it happening again. Strategy number 2, develop a concise answer and practice it. Because, trust me, I have seen it happen where people are asked why they left their last job. They're so nervous in the interview, and when that dreaded question comes up, they panic and verbally vomit the entire story in full detail, including all the things I advise not to say. outspills their anger, resentment, blame, defensiveness, and often things that even the employer would keep confidential. And you know what? It's a huge turnoff and can cost you the job. This is one of those situational answers you want to have well rehearsed and feel comfortable answering quickly and concisely. And if at all possible, try to put a positive spin or segue to something positive. I'll show you what I mean in a couple of upcoming examples. Strategy number 3, non-disclosure agreement. If you were fired for a sensitive issue such as inappropriate behavior, bullying, harassment, or really any issue, you may have been asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement as part of your termination or release. It's a good thing if you have, because that now becomes your reason for not being able to explain the details of why you were fired. However, this may also leave a little too much to the imagination of your potential new employer. So, what I recommend is to come up with a simple explanation and then move on. Here's an example. I was required to sign a non-disclosure agreement when I left the company, so I can't get into the details, but what I can say is it involved me having to file a harassment claim against another employee. It was uncomfortable for me to continue working with this person, so the company and I came to a mutual decision that I would find employment elsewhere. If you were fired for a reason you're embarrassed about, or really any reason for that matter, as I mentioned earlier, you want to segue your answer to a positive statement, or another topic such as a question, like I'm going to show you in an upcoming example. Depending on the circumstances of why and how you were terminated, sometimes it's good enough to say the position wasn't a good fit. Or the company was bought out, the new management restructured, and my position was made redundant. Now, let me give you 9 different examples of true story termination situations from some of my past clients that you may be able to relate to and find helpful in crafting your own story. Number 1, my manager of 4 years, who I had a great relationship with, left the company. And unfortunately, I just couldn't build the same working relationship with the new manager. We continually clashed. It was one of those unfortunate situations that was bound to end in the parting of ways, and he took action before I did. Number 2, the company was sold and the new owners had a different business philosophy that I didn't agree with ethically in how they built their customers. I voiced my concerns several times and was eventually asked to leave the company. But I learned a lot from the experience and recognized how important it is for me to work for an employer who truly value their customers. That's what attracted me to your company. The company mission and values, as stated on your website, align with my values and business philosophy. So, did you notice how the last sentence segued into a positive? Number 3. The company grew and a supervisory role was created. I applied for the role, but it was given to another coworker. Unfortunately, the team dynamic changed and my new supervisor had a micromanaging style which I wasn't adapting well to after 3 years of doing my job well without supervision. I was frustrated and wasn't getting along well with my supervisor, and she made the decision to let me go. But I think it was a blessing in disguise because I'm ready to take on the challenges and responsibilities of a supervisory role, and it's given me the push I needed to explore other opportunities that better suit my qualifications and interests. That's why I'm intrigued by your supervisory position in Number 4. As you may know, sales can be a very challenging field. I was in the top 5% in both my first 2 roles, as well as received an award for Salesperson of the Year 3 years ago. My most recent job was in ABC industry. I didn't know much about that industry, but was excited by the challenge of learning something new. I was given an assigned territory, but soon learned it was very cutthroat with competitor companies, and meeting sales targets was difficult to achieve. I gave it my all for 12 months, and although I met my targets 7 out of 12 months, I brought in several new key clients within that time. The company had higher expectations on achieving consistent monthly targets, and they chose to let me go. I think with the review and restructuring of the territory regions, which I did suggest to the company, but they wouldn't agree to, things could have been a little different. Nonetheless, it was a great company. I learned a lot and enjoyed the work because sales is my passion. And I'm excited to bring my energy to your company and prove how I can be in your top 5%. Number 5, it was my first time in a role as a human resources manager. While I liked the company and the staff, I was struggling with some aspects of the job because I had never done that type of work before. The company did send me to some training, but I guess I just wasn't cut out for HR. It was a great learning experience and proved to me that I'm better to stay with what I'm good at and go back into a role similar to what I did before that, which is why I applied for your posting as an administrative assistant. I really enjoy that type of work, and my education skills and natural strengths are better suited for it. So I'm excited to learn more about your position in this field. Number 6, I'm embarrassed to say I was fired for being late too many times. I was using public transit to get to work, and unfortunately there were occasions where the bus was not running on schedule and it caused me to arrive 5 to 10 minutes late. It was my responsibility to open the office and turn on the phones for 9 a.m. sharp. So when I was late, the business didn't open on time, which was bad for customers. The buses only run once per hour, and although my employer knew I used transit when I was hired, we didn't realize what a challenge it would be to accommodate the business hours. The only way I could avoid being occasionally late was to take a bus 1 hour earlier. But then I'd arrive to work an hour earlier, and they didn't want me opening the business that early. So it was an unfortunate situation. Other than that, my job performance was great. My former employer gave me an excellent reference letter. This position you're hiring for is exactly what I did for my former employer, and I love that type of work. The great thing is I live 3 blocks away, so I can ride my bike or walk, and can assure you I will never be late. Number 7, I was fired for breaking a company policy. Normally, we had 2 or 3 people working in the branch at all times. But if we happened to be working alone for security reasons, company policy stated we were not allowed to leave the branch during business hours. I was a smoker at the time, and it's illegal to smoke in a public building. By law, my employer was required to provide me with a break after 5 hours, which wasn't happening. Our branch was short-staffed, and on 2 occasions I had to work 13 hours straight without a break. I couldn't go that long without a cigarette, so I was put in a very difficult position of having to choose between breaking the law by smoking in the building, which carries a fine of up to 3 months in jail if prosecuted, or leaving the building and breaking company policy. I was desperate, and I used my best judgment to quickly step outside the front door for a cigarette when there were no customers present. I did technically break company policy by leaving the building, and I was fired as a result. Although my district manager did not want to fire me because I was a great employee, she had no choice due to the corporate zero tolerance policy. This was a unique situation. I understood the reason, and I learned a lot from it, and one positive was it gave me the motivation I needed to quit smoking. Number 8, I'm used to working in roles where I have a clearly defined job description. I was hired for a newly created position, and there wasn't a formal job description developed, so there was a lot of confusion over what was really expected of the person in this role, and what the duties and responsibilities should be. I had some good ideas, but being new, I was nervous about approaching management and questioning their decisions. In hindsight, I should have taken the initiative to ask more questions and offered my suggestions to help my supervisor determine what the company truly needed from the role to develop and establish the position. After 6 months, it was decided that the position wasn't benefiting the company, and I was terminated. That experience taught me a valuable lesson about not being afraid to ask questions, offer ideas, and suggestions. Because I have a tendency to be shy around management, I since joined Toastmasters to build my confidence in public speaking, and I hired a career development coach who taught me how to develop a 30, 60, 90-day plan to ensure my success in my next position, and that I'm excited to demonstrate. Number 9, unfortunately, I had some personal problems come up that were upsetting my work life. I have since resolved those problems, and they no longer exist, so it won't become an issue again. I'm ready to jump into my new job and exceed expectations. I hope today's explanations and story examples help reduce your fear and anxiety when it comes to explaining to future employers why you were terminated, and helps you develop a strategy and framework for crafting your story. Remember, keep it concise, factual, leave out your emotions, and practice it until you can say it comfortably. If you like what you learned today, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share it with friends, and if there's a job search or interview related topic you'd like to learn more about in an upcoming video, please drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Now, as promised, I have a little gift that I created just for you. It's my Successful Job Seekers Manifesto that you can download absolutely free. It's loaded with statements to keep you encouraged, inspired, and motivated on your job search journey. The link is in the description box below. Print it off, stick it on your fridge or wall, save it in your phone, and refer to it whenever you need a little pick-me-up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.